Hi, you're watching Current Issues. My name is Vineet Malhotra. The CBSE, the biggest education board in India, might have a secret up its sleeve. The concept of standardization has caught the board on the wrong foot, and extra and unnecessary marks are being given to students just to maintain a healthy competition with other boards such as ICSE. The practice not only unfairly puts students in favor if they are from a particular board, but also can inflate results and aspirations to an unrealistic level. What implications can this practice hold, and what are the long-term damages that we must be aware of? We find out with our guest today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. V.K. Suri, who is the chairman of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College governing body. Sir, thank you so much for talking to us. We will also be joined by Mr. R.C. Shekhar, who is the director of Gyan Bharati School, Delhi. So let's begin the debate. And Mr. Suri, I would like to start with you. And this is a show probably where you can even educate our viewers as to how this standardization, this dispatching of extra marks to students, what's the history behind it? Why is it done, and how is it harmful?
See, earlier the standardization was done within a limited scope, say the 5 marks, that too looking into how many students are failing, and that all boards had been doing it earlier also. Now, as the competition is increasing and some of the boards are inflating their marks beyond a level, so the Delhi CBSE has also done this time. They have also increased the marks. Here the brilliant students, they remain at loss with this practice. This is a very unhealthy practice. It should not be even the 5%. Why? Fail is fail. Let there be a discipline in the education. Why there is no discipline? Why when the teachers, while checking the papers, they say that we have passed the students with 90% and above only 10 students, and when the final result comes, it is more than 70-80 students with the 90% of the marks. Now, the CBSE has decided that we will give 10 marks or 15 marks to every student. The student who has achieved, who has scored 93% of his own, brilliant student, and a student who has got the 82, he will also be at 80, 95, 97, and that 93 will not get anything above 90. So, this unhealthy practice must be stopped. Nothing doing with the standardization, nothing doing with the liberalization, and there should be a strict and very strict policy,
disciplined mode of assessing these examinations.
In education, if we are not disciplined, if we at the helm of the affairs sitting, the boards are doing it, what the schools and other teachers and those private universities will do?
Right. So basically what you're saying is that this procedure of standardization is detrimental not only for the students but the system of education as a whole. Mr. R.C. Shekhar, the topper scam in Bihar board, and the more than 80% of the students in Sri Ram College of Commerce are from Tamil Nadu board. These are some of the practices which probably we will not feel the effects today, but the ripple effect can affect a lot of students. It can affect a lot of different entities. How do you perceive this particular threat, and what are your ideas about tackling the standardization procedure which has gained ground very recently in CBSE?
See, I think if they are doing it, they are doing it very wrong to everybody. I mean, to the entire system, they are spoiling it. As far as I know, and as much I know the CBSE, the things which used to pass from our hands, it was very strict as per rule, and whatever the child deserved, he was being given. But after that, if they are doing some, in the name of standardization, they are doing certain things which is very unethical, very wrong, and they are not doing harm to these young children who are unnecessarily aspiring, thinking that they have really done so well. But I think they should stop it immediately, and they should give what the child deserves really.
Okay, let's also guess Mr. Ashok Kumar Ganguly, who's joining us over the phone. He's the former chairperson of the CBSE. Mr. Ganguly, thank you so much for talking to us. A lot of competition, in the boards. The CBSE is, propagating and perpetuating, standardization, increasing marks unfairly just to keep up, a certain sense of competition with the other boards. What's your perspective on this agenda, and how detrimental can it be for our students and the system?
I must say that this is a very, very dangerous trend in the school education sector. Okay, if the state boards are doing these unfair practices of inflating the marks, it doesn't mean that the CBSE should also follow the same path. Now, this raises the very questions of reliability, credibility, and the validity of our examination system. Moderation has a very, very distinct and very, very specific purpose. Moderation means that when there is a multiple set of question papers and if some sections of the students are put into disadvantageous situation because of the variations in difficulty level, then that moderation comes in practice. Moderations cannot be granted for the simple reasons that some board is inflating the marks. We need to inflate the marks also. So this is a very dangerous trend, and we must now make it very, very clear to why moderation is being done, number one. And number two, it has to be made very, very transparent. Why we are giving the moderation to certain sections of students. Moderations cannot be granted for all students. It is only for those who are put into disadvantageous situations because of the variations in the difficulty level of the questions papers, because of the multiple set of question papers. So I think we need to be very, very clear about these unhealthy practices that is being on various state boards. The COPSE, Council for Boards for School Education in India, should now come into place and should now have a very, very advisory role in this regard. That's number two. CBSE, being a trendsetter among the school education board in India, should not follow these unfair practices, because board is inflating the marks. We need to also inflate the marks. And number third, we need to have a very, very serious thought about the very admission process and the undergraduate level. I think we need to have a good thought about having a national examination like the SAT in India also, so that states which are doing these unfair practices must be curtailed. Their activities must be under check. Yeah.
Okay, so in a sense, Mr. Ganguly, what you're saying is, Mr. Surya, I'm coming to you now, that, standardization is a process which has been followed. It was done judiciously in the past, but lately CBSE is, under some kind of a threat that, they are going to be outdone by the other boards. Is there a point that they're trying to prove that, the curriculum and the students that we produce are better than yours? Is this some kind of a threat perception?
Yes. But while doing this, they are losing their credibility. So they should see that their standard, CBSE standard, is maintained. And as Mr. Ganguly said, that if moderation has to be there, it should be very transparent. This we are doing, and at this percentage we are doing, for this purpose we are doing. So another point Mr. Ganguly has made is very right, that the admission process in the universities, that there should be a reform in that. There must be a competition, there must be a entrance test everywhere for the admission, so that such scams of the marks, 100 marks, 98 marks, 97 marks, students are not getting the admission. So where our standards are going down, marks are going up, but the standards are going down. So to increase our standards, a large scale reforms, right from the parents, from the first standard. If a student is fail in the first standard, he is fail in the first standard.
Exactly.
Why up to 9th class he should be?
It defeats the entire purpose of having that exam.
And while in the 9th class, now it is being said that you see that student can perform up to 4th class standard ka. Can he pass 4th standard? Does he know up to the 5th standard? He knows up to the 6th standard. So you make a groups and teach them first to the level of the 4th standard, 5th standard and 6th standard, so that he can pass in the 9th class.
Right.
Is it the education, or we are making mockery of it?
Exactly. Mr. Shekhar, coming to you now, there's also a set module to this standardization which is followed. If you have physics, chemistry, maths and English, the grace marks that are given to you have a particular procedure and a particular protocol to be followed. And if you have history, economics and other subjects, the grace marks given to you are differently, imbued and differently followed. This has been around for some time, and there is a set system, in making students feel that they deserve what they actually, are not actually capable of doing.
Why did they introduce it, first of all? If it was not to be counted, why did they introduce? If they can do it in science, why not in history? Why not in accountancy? They are deducting marks when they are getting admissions there in colleges. I want to give you an example. You see, in class 10, there are lots of students who come with CGPA 10 to us for admission in class 11. And we conduct a common test, and we find that they are not worth as grade 4 or grade 5 CGPA. So how have they managed it? How they got it? That means something is happening which is not in our knowledge. When we send them, we send it in a very different, actually what they deserve it. But then if something is being done by the board only to, whom are they trying to influence? Whom they are trying to impress upon?
Exactly. Whom are they trying to impress? And Mr. Ashok Kumar Ganguly, coming back to you.
Except for they are harming the children.
Okay, let's bring in Mr. Ganguly once again. Mr. Ganguly, there was a report that I was reading that a student, who would normally on an average basis get 75%, he ended up getting 88 to 90% because of standardization procedures. This inflation, what kind of a harm, is it actually rendering on the child when he actually finishes school and goes out to a college and figures out things on his own because of this inflation? How harmful will it be for him?
No, it is a very dangerous. I'm not talking about the harmful. It is a very dangerous trend actually, because we are making. We cannot be unfair to any students. How is it that by giving moderation marks in certain subjects to certain categories of the students, we are showing that we are fair to them, but actually we are unfair to many of such students? How is it that in board's public examinations, we are unfair to some students and we are fair to some students? That is number one. And number two, if the students come to know that if he can attempt only 70%, and still we can get 85 and 90 out of 100 by just, I will not talk about, this is not a standardization process. This is not a normalization. By granting moderation marks, we are simply inflating the mark. Standardization or the normalization is a different procedures where we have taken into account the related performances of the students. That is the scientific procedures. We are not adopting any scientific procedures. We are giving them the random marks of 15 or 20 marks. How is it that a student, some student talk to me, sir, in mathematics I have attempted, I have left at 15 marks. And get only max 185. And we surprised to see that he has got a 94 out of 100. How is it that 9 more marks are added to his performances? So this is a very dangerous trend. This will lead, I'm telling, that this will lead to not only the unfair exam in the board's examination, this will really marks about the very validity. I'm talking about this particular word, the very validity and validity of our examination system. And if our board's examinations, we lost entire credibility, I think the school education sector, which is very, very bad as far as the classroom transition is considered. And in the evaluation part, we have 3 distinct: curriculum design, curriculum transition, and curriculum evaluation. And I'm not talking about, but that is very bad in the school education in India. The curriculum evaluation, there's a very big question mark about the very reliability and the quality.
Okay, Dr. Mr. Ganguly, I'll have to hold on to your thoughts right now because your audio is not very, very clear. And we have Anil Kumar, who's giving us a call from Bareilly.
Anil Kumar. ANANT.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. What do you have to say?
Actually, just I have a suggestion for that, because the tamperings of the marks are there not only in the CBSE. what we do perceive that might be there with the state boards also. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
So is it possible that there should be the disclosure policy of the moderation that should be disclosed properly, and we can put that suggestion to the government also and CBSE board also. So that much moderation is allowed, and that has been done this year.
Okay,
Is that
basically,
my point?
okay, basically, this seems to be a case of, Mr. Suri, an unhealthy competition between the center and the state. So, in a sense, is it safe to say that we, because of this, inflation, because of overstating somebody's potential, we are rendering an entire generation, thinking something that they are not?
Yes, certainly it is very damaging for the students also, for their career. They think that they might be thinking that okay, I have performed, I will get 10-15% extra and I will have a good score. And the brilliant student who has attained of his own,
Right.
who has obtained a good marks above 90%, he will remain there at the 90%. Here I will say that our policies long back, 2 decades back, Dr. P.C. Chundar was the education minister, and I talked to him, and he said that we need the large scale reforms in education, and still we are having those large scale reforms yet to be seen. We take the policies from the other countries where the infrastructure and the culture is different. We
Right.
try to force them here, and that is why we do not get anything out of that. We should see our culture. We should see that you are now asking the students to that they must go to the school. It is whose responsibility? It is not the sole responsibility of the government to get the students to the school. It is the parents also. In other countries, the parents are penalized if they do not send their children to the schools. So, here also there has to be a discipline, and in India, I do not see that there can be a voluntary discipline. It has to be a forced discipline, and education is such a sphere where the forced discipline is a must now to create a future for the India, to create a new India which we are talking, and in the budget also the government must give a healthy budget to the education. They should not rather cut it down year by year.
Okay, we have another caller. We have Mahindra Rao, who's giving us a call from Delhi. Mr. Rao, go ahead. State your point.
Yeah, my point is that these numbers are misleading to even parents. When I read this in the newspaper in the morning today, I was very much shocked because my daughter was getting to 94%, and while seeing this that she is 15% less, then for every people here, this is very misleading to the student also, and this is misleading to international education forums also. Whenever any student will be getting 95 or 98% marks in India, every international institute will say, yes, deduct 15% less because they are all bogus. 15% is less. This is very much misleading, and this should not be there. I was shocked and I was very painful for this.
Okay, Mr. Ganguly, I would like you to respond to that. Mahindra Rao feels that the international forums who are going to actually analyze these inflated marks are going to deduct a few marks, call them bogus. And what kind of an impression will the education system have on all the foreign universities that most of the students who come out of school aspire to go to with this system in place? Mr. Ganguly, can you hear me? Okay, I think we've lost the connection over there. R.C. Shekhar, coming to you. The same question to you. International forums, how would they feel when they find out, that the system that has been applied to the students is actually bogus? There is inflation in the marks that are rendered to them, and there is no logic for doing that as well. How do you think, what kind of a stead will we hold, in the international arena of education?
They simply mock at us. They simply mock at us. You see, there was a time when we used to feel so proud that the CBSE is doing such a good work. But if they have come down to the level of the other boards, it is really sad, and they should think very seriously about it, and the government should also instruct them seriously that no inflation should take place whatsoever. If small, like Mr. Ganguly has said, It has been there practiced for a very long time that some moderation, if it is needed because of the difficulty level of the paper. Apart from that, nothing else should be done, and the children should be shown what they deserve, nothing more than that. And we are getting a very bad name at the international level, and there should be a common test for the children when they are going, even, that means the board has become redundant. If we have to do this again, the board has become redundant. So, I think to save ourselves, to save our image, we should be transparent, look within ourselves,
Right.
and try to improve the system.
Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Ganguly, but before that, a question for you, VK Suri. The CBSE has to set a precedent. Instead of following the herd, instead of copying what the states are doing, if they are being liberal in their marking system, the CBSE should actually take the opposite stand. Why are they in fact supporting this malpractice by following suit?
This is very unfortunate. They have decided to do so. They should have maintained their own standard, and by going down, diluting their standards, they are defaming the Indian universities also, Indian schools also, while getting admission in the foreign countries. As you very rightly said, they might think that their marks are inflated, and they must consider that they are scoring 10% less, 15% less than the actual. So, in the higher for the higher education in foreign countries, our standard is going low, and our students, even those the brilliant students, they will be at the loss when they go for the admission, and they said that your university, your CBSE board, they all are inflating your marks, and the student who is actually getting 95% marks, he will also be considered for the 10%, 15% less. So, this is very damaging. Done is done. Let now there be a transparency. Let CBSE and other boards also, state boards also, not only one board. Let there be policy why they are doing it, why there is no discipline in the education. That is a must. Which future we are trying to create for the students, which India हम जो बनाना चाहते हैं, which country, कहाँ हम उसको बना रहे हैं.
Okay, we have a caller called Gyani who's giving us a call from Maharashtra.
Yes.
Go ahead, Gyani.
Hello.
Okay, Gyani, we can hear you. Go ahead. Please turn off the volume of your television.
Education department is not the dukandari of any baniya people. If CBSE is trying to do this, it is very much detrimental in the interest of the students.
Okay. Gyani, please turn off the volume of your television and then speak with us, please.
Yes, I have reduced.
Go ahead. Have you made your point, or is there more? Gyani, have you made your point, or is there something more you want to say? Okay, let's get a response on that from Ashok Kumar Ganguly, saying that the CBSE is probably making a mockery. Mr. Ganguly, do you think the CBSE is, sort of warding off its insecurity by emulating the state boards and actually doing something which is not supposed to do, being such a reputed and such an old body of the Indian education system? They should be setting a precedent. They should be making an example out of things. If a state is going wrong, if a state has gone rogue, they have to do the opposite in order to establish some sort of a decorum in the education principle.
Right.
Yeah, I do agree that CBSE being a trendsetter board, we should not follow the path. We mean the CBSE should not follow the path which the state boards are doing it. We need to be very, very categorically clear that why we are giving the marks of moderations. And in any subjects, the moderation marks cannot be and should not exceed total 5% of the total marks. So the CBSE should not feel that of a sort of insecurity that their students may not succeed. If your examination system is very reliable, if your examination system is credible, our students, the CBSE students, should definitely excel in any competitive situation. I know there are state boards. There are state boards where the minimum marks in English is 94 and the maximum mark is 100, which is not a possibility.
Right,
but this needs to be taken up. But this needs to be taken up on a separate footing. We need to tell these state boards why we are practicing such things, and we need to tell by the people like the
Okay, so Mr. Ganguly, basically what you're saying is, and a reaction from you, Mr. V.K. Suri, that we are, creating inflated intellectuals who really, cannot look at the music right now, but when the time comes, they will face the music and they will realize the mistake the CBSE made, and they are suffering for it.
So, there should be a national policy that there is no moderation at all. Why not we have a flawless question papers that we don't, why should we need the moderation on any ground? Are we not capable? Are our teachers and the universities are not capable to create to bring out the question papers which are flawless, and there should be a complete ban on the moderation and inflation of the marks.
Well, like you said it, Mr. V.K. Suri, there should be a complete ban on moderation and standardization for the betterment of the future of the coming generation. And on that note, I would like to thank all my guests, Mr. V.K. Suri, R.C. Shekhar and Ashok Kumar Ganguly. Thank you for joining us. That's all we have on current issues. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.